Let's talk about that race in North Carolina, where Republican Dan Bishop has won by just 2 points. This was a district Trump carried by 12, and it follows the 2018 midterms, where Democrats picked up a whopping 40 seats.
When we launched this campaign, conventional wisdom dictated that this race was unwinnable.
We voted and we won, and we did all of this together.
Today is a milestone, but it is really a beginning.
And what's happened since then? Well, Donald Trump's approval rating has dropped further below 40%. I'm joined right now by Stan Greenberg, a leading pollster and strategist for decades. I want to mention he's advised presidents, leaders around the world, including Clinton, Obama, Blair, and even Mandela, an assignment many people would want. And he's here in part because his new book is called, provocatively for such a sober-minded, objective person, R.I.P. GOP. And also, for a view from the field, someone in the fight right now, Jamie Harrison, who chaired the South Carolina Democratic Party, running for the U.S. Senate against Lindsey Graham. Thanks to both of you for being here.
Ari, thank you. Good to be here.
Great to have you both.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Let me start with you, Stanley. Given all your experience, that title doesn't leave a lot of room for imagination. What do you mean? What do you see?
No, it's time not to be sober. I spent almost every night, every morning, writing after the Women's March, and dedicated to the resistance. What this book says is that I understood this election meant that there would be a pushback against Trump. He would accelerate the trends, and everything we have seen here, I think, has confirmed that. And if you look at North Carolina, a lot of people look at it and say, well, it was disappointing it wasn't won, but it was so much in part of the story of 2018. The swing was exactly the same, a 10-point swing from where the Republicans were in 16, the shift in the suburban vote. But also what's important is immigration. He played the immigration card hard in 2018. They played it very hard in this special election, and it does not work. Democrats win when they are running as an anti-immigrant party. So day by day, the Democrats are associated with our multicultural identity, with immigration, with an expansive America, and the country, I think, is ready to vote for that.
Yeah, and I want to read something to you. You did not predict Trump's victory, correct?
No.
And few did, including in the Republican Party. I mean, I had off-the-record calls with Republican officials planning for after the loss. But I want to read something you wrote then in November. Yes. You said you were glad that Clinton was on the offensive, expanding the map rather than raising barriers to Trump reaching the blue wall, aligning her with the trends of the country, which allows for a, quote, bigger win. In parts of the so-called blue wall, Trump narrowly picked up key states in the Electoral College. My question to you is not, have you ever called an election off? I think a lot of folks have. The media certainly has. You're on a media network, so full disclosure. But do you stand by that? Has anything changed? And should Democrats still be worried about Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, et cetera?
Okay. Look, you're right to focus on that, but the issue was not whether we should be moving to those expansive states. The issue is, of course, you protect yourself on the blue wall. It never occurred to me that we would not be advertising, organizing, respecting those working class voters in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. It was never an either or. Yes, I wanted to be with the expansive map, but for sure, I just made the assumption you make sure the blue wall is intact, and then you also expand it at the same time. I think you always, as a campaign, you stay on the offense, put them on the defensive, but you don't give them the vulnerability by disrespecting working class voters and not committing to winning those core states.
Interesting. Let me bring in Jamie, who, like you, has worked with some top Democratic officials and now is seeking to become one, entering the U.S. Senate Democratic Caucus if he wins. How do you see this playing out?
Hey, Ari.
technical difficulties, or could you hear me, Jamie? I was asking what you said.
I can hear you now, Ari. Say again.
Let me repeat, and this is on me. Sometimes we put our guests in a rough spot if you couldn't hear me. I was saying, given that you're running for the Senate, what do you think of what Stanley's analysis is? And do you think 2020 would be like the blue wave we saw in 2018?
Yeah, I think it's a continuation, Ori. Listen, what we saw in the North Carolina race yesterday was a continuation of 2018. In South Carolina, we had a seat that Donald Trump won by 13 points. This was Mark Sanford's old seat. And a Democrat is now currently the congressperson in that seat in Joe Cunningham. And he ran not because he was going to be a rubber stamp for the Democratic Party or any party. He ran because he was talking about the issues important to the people in that district. And what we're seeing with the Republicans across the South, we are seeing a new South emerge, but the Republicans are still using that same playbook from Lee Atwater, where they think they can throw out some dog whistles and red meat to divide people. But people right now want someone who will represent them, represent their interests. I mean, just recently, our senator, when the Hurricane Dorian was coming, knocking on the door, we had mandatory evacuations in Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head. Where was Lindsey Graham? He was over in Montenegro. The last time I recall, when we had senators like Fritz Hollings, they would always be in the state helping their citizens prepare for that hurricane. But he was over in Montenegro, and then what makes it worse, he was over there palling around with a white nationalist. These guys just think that they can throw out this red meat and that's going to be enough. But people want folks to represent them. That's what the job is. And right now, all of these folks think, Lindsey Graham included, all they think is they just need to wrap themselves in the president. But they're going to see, and I think Stan is right on it, that the president's going to bring them down, along with a party that I had a lot of respect for as well.
Interesting to hear from both of you, Stan Greenberg and Jamie Harrison. Thanks for telling us about the new book, RIP GOP. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.